it feels like we're at the point now where somebody's going to get traded. That's going to happen. Whether it's JT or Elias, I don't know, but one of them is going. So I want to break down all of the different trade options that I think are on the table right now and which ones are most likely. So first, JT. And I don't want to see him go. But if it does happen, it looks like the only option is New York, which means Van is going to get one of Kreider, Trocheck, or Zibanejad. I think that's just pretty obvious. For me, I'd want Trocheck out of those three, but honestly, I'd be okay with any of them as long as Will Cooley is included in the trade, okay? This is a 6'3" power forward. He's only 22 years old right now. He's put up 24 points in 39 games so far, and I think there's a good chance that this kid turns into a legit impact player in a few years. Honestly, his game reminds me a lot of JT's. So if Van can get Cooley with, let's say, Trocheck or Zibanejad, I would call that a success. Now, there's also some talk that Keandre Miller is in the trade if it happens. Honestly, I'd prefer the younger kid, Braden Schneider. If Van did get three guys for Miller, I'd want Cooley, Trocheck, Schneider. That's the deal. I don't know if New York would give that much, but I do know that their GM really, really, really wants Miller. So you never know. But those three would be what I want. Now, on the Pettersson side of things, this is where shit gets interesting, okay? The return needs to be a stud D-man, maybe two defensemen, and definitely a replacement at center, okay? So one option is Buffalo. I already mentioned that in the last video, but I actually kind of tweaked the deal because I think Power should be the guy. And I think Power should come with Samuelson, another young guy, defensive defenseman, and Cousins. Power, Cousins, Samuelson, I think that's a fair trade. Now, another team is Chicago, okay? They're terrible. They'd probably willing to give up just about anyone to get Elias alongside Bedard. Alex Vlasic is one name I'd want. He's only 23, 6'6", 220 pounds, 17 points in 40 games this year. He'd be an essential piece of that trade. Tara Vinen is another option, but I think he's a bit too soft for what the Canucks need right now. He's a good player. I just don't know if he's the perfect fit. Seth Jones could be a guy that could come over. He's not the stud that he once was, but he'd be a great number 2 or number 3 defenseman on the Canucks' blue line. And they've also got a decent selection of prospects. So Nazar, Levzhinov just went number 2, Boisvert, Korshinsky. They've also got a kid, Kantsarov, who they picked up in the second round a few years ago. He's putting up a point a game in the KHL right now. So all in all, if Pettersson went to Chicago, the return that I would want is Jones, Vlasic, that kid in the KHL is ripping it up, and maybe even that second overall pick, Levzhinov. Chicago needs to make a move. They're so bad. Pettersson and Bedard would probably light that city on fire. They'd probably be willing to give up a bunch. I'd want at least 3 of these players that I just mentioned. Now, another club, and maybe my favorite option for Pettersson, and this might be a 1-for-1, and it's happening over in Columbus, who obviously needs to shake things up. Werenski for Pettersson. Think about that. Werenski's got 45 points in 40 games right now on an awful team. Just imagine him and Hughes on the blue line. That might be an even better pairing than Taves and Makar. And Van could also probably sneak in a pick or a prospect in this too. I mean, ideally you'd want a center coming back if you're giving up Pettersson. However, I don't really like what Columbus has to offer down the middle. But all in all, these are some potential deals that I think could happen. And if I had to choose one that I love the most, it would be sending Pettersson to Columbus and getting Werenski and maybe a pick or 2 or a prospect back. I would be extremely satisfied with that if I was the Canucks management staff. Anyways, there it is, boys. If you guys have any opinions on these trades or you guys have any trade ideas yourselves, feel free to drop them in the comment section. I'll read them all. And yeah, thanks for watching, boys.